It's time for Ask the Expert, your chance to learn something new every day. Let's find out who our expert is today.
Well, thanks for joining us on Ask the Expert this time. We're with wildlife biologist and local resident Kevin Bock. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Barry. Nice to meet you. Hello, everybody.
Now, I know you're wondering why I'm wearing, if you're watching, I'm wearing a bee, what is this called?
Bee suit.
Bee suit, bee jacket, yeah. I'm gonna take it off now because it's quite hot. But this is the coolest brand because it's got a lot of holes in it where the bees cannot sting you, but you can still get some airflow going on. I learned all this from my friend Kevin Bock here, which is he's a wildlife biologist and a beekeeper.
That's correct.
So how did you get involved in the art of beekeeping?
It's fun, interesting. It all kind of came from a journey at Cal State Channel Islands, leading up to my graduation. So, you're in your undergrad, you're in midterms and finals, and on weekends you're hanging out just trying to get some downtime. So I was with friends and we were playing, the very popular game these days, Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
So we're sitting there getting immersed into the game. We're going to Total Wines and other places, and we're buying mead and other beverages that are...
Now, mead is like a classic drink, like Viking drink, right? The oldest beverage. Right?
That's correct. It is the oldest known historical beverage, and it is essentially wine that's made from honey. Really, all it takes to make mead is water, yeast, and honey, and fermentation will actually start on its own. So it's probably one of the easiest things for humans to be able to produce.
So you were playing Dungeons and Dragons and said, I could probably make a better drink for us to party with.
Yeah, mead's expensive, and honestly, a lot of the commercial brands are quite sweet. And I was sitting there drinking it with some friends one day. We got our Viking hats on and everything. I was like, I think I can make this. I was taking organic chemistry at the time. It seemed like something that was rather achievable. So picked up some honey, tried a couple batches, and picked up a home brewing starter kit, and was surprised that it was actually drinkable. Friends and I had that first batch, and it was off to the races. I started buying more and more honey until I realized, as a college student, honey's expensive. So
everything's expensive if you're a college student.
Oh my God, yeah. You're eating a cup of noodles every day. But yeah, springtime 2019, I looked at what was available on the course roster, and there was a beekeeping course. So I said, hey, maybe this is an easy way to get some honey. I bet this class will be a lot of fun as well. So I took the class with Ruben Alarcon at Cal State Channel Islands, and I was terrified at first. I was sitting in the bee suit, wasn't
afraid
moving.
of bees?
I was totally afraid of bees. I still am if I'm not in a suit. But I quickly fell in love with it, and after the semester ended, I remained on and volunteered at the university with the beekeeping course. And each year since then, I've continued to volunteer, and I've become a valued member of the program. And every cohort of students that comes through gets to meet me. I get the fortune to be able to train them and teach them beekeeping.
Yeah, you keep the tradition alive.
Yes.
Okay, so this is honey wine. No, mead, right? I hold in my hands a bottle of some substance. Is this the notorious thing that you said that you make out of 3 ingredients?
Yeah, that one has a few more than 3 ingredients in it. But yeah, all the different bottles back here for the most part. And
it says
some over here too.
KEI, loquat wine. What's KEI?
So that's Kai apples.
Oh, it's apples. Okay.
They're actually a South African fruit that is, you're not going to be able to find it here unless someone has a plant growing, which the ranch where I keep my bees at has Kai apples. And then I use loquats in my backyard, and I combined the 2 fruits, mixed it with honey, and I made a Kai loquat wine.
Is that what happens after you advance past the art of making mead. You perfect the 3 ingredients, then you start adding 57 herbs and spices to it.
Oh
Is that
yeah,
how it goes?
100%. See, wine's great. You can have different types of grapes. You can spice the wine, but I'll tell you right now, mead, way more flavor profiles and way more flavor opportunities. I have seen people take mead, and we've done a strawberry pie mead before, where we've taken graham crackers and strawberries, vanilla extract, like butter extract, mixed all this stuff in, and you taste it and you're like, wow, that's a liquid strawberry pie.
Wow.
You can do all types of stuff.
Now, you have a degree in that kind of stuff, right? But can the average person figure that out with like Google? Can they figure that out? Okay.
I
Awesome.
mean, everything, we can do everything online these days, but home brewing has a really big community. If you go online, whether it's Reddit or YouTube, anywhere, you're going to find people making their own beer, cider, and wine at home.
It's pretty cool. Okay, so pollinators are what honeybees are, among many other insects that we run into. Not a lot of insects we notice these days, but they're still out there pollinating. And so can you give us a little insight on the life of a commercial pollinating bee?
The life of a commercial pollinating bee, their life is going to look very different depending on the season. But let's say it's springtime coming up, when it's winter now. Springtime, what we're going to be expecting the next couple months, the bees, which they hibernate kind of in the winter. They don't go out too much. There's not a lot of flowers. As the flowers start to bloom from these rains that we've been getting, we're going to see the bees starting to leave the hive. They're going to start collecting nectar and pollen, which they're going to bring back into the hive. They're going to pollinate those flowers by cross between one flower to the next. They're going to have pollen on their body. It's going to hit one flower. They're going to pick some pollen up from that flower and bring it to the next. This is how they're able to actually reproduce. Plants are able to create and go to seed and create new plants and flowers.
Okay, so it's part of nature then. It's the way, and I've heard from farmers that it's the way you get more fruit out of your trees. If you have a beehive in your farm, is that a true statement?
Yeah, there's a symbiotic relationship between many species of bees and even other animals, such as bats and hummingbirds. They are essential for a lot of plants to be able to produce crops and, like you said, create heavier sets of crops.
Right. We're talking with Kevin Bock, 6th-year beekeeper and career wildlife biologist today on Ask the Expert. And if you have a question for the expert, you can call or text 833-346-4626. That's 833-346-4626. Or Kevin, you got an email address or a website or something people could reach out to you for?
Yeah, I get contacts all the time. If you want to give me a call, you're interested in purchasing honey and you're in Ventura or the Conejo Valley, you can find me at conejobeeco.com or email me, my Gmail, conejobeeco@gmail.com. That's spelled CONEJOBECO.com.
Conejo Beeco.
Yeah, that's
That's cool. That's cool. That works. Did you know Conejo means rabbit?
I did, Rabbit Valley.
Rabbit Valley. All right, so let's take a question here from the audience here. You can email us your questions, and we have one now. Of course, let's ask you, how did you get into beekeeping? I think we kind of got into that a little bit with going to school, taking a class, but it really is that easy, right?
To get into beekeeping? No, that's just how I fell in love with it. Getting into beekeeping is an entirely different question, and it's actually surprisingly difficult. Most beekeepers fail by their second year. I think it's like 80% of people drop out and they give up. But the challenge of it is being able to find a location first and foremost. Getting your equipment and your bees, which are both very expensive, and then it's keeping them alive, knowing what you're supposed to do. I tell a lot of people that want to get into beekeeping, they need to find a local beekeeping club or a mentor that's going to be able to help them learn the ropes and be able to get their bees to survive past their first and second season.
And here in Ventura County, there's a plethora of mentors and probably backyards, I would think. But you should, that is the true statement about giving up, because I started to dabble in beekeeping when when COVID happened in the 2020s. I had a neighbor, and the first year of the beekeeping was when sort of I gave up. I said, this is too hard. This is fun while it lasted, but I understand the ratio of people out. It's a tough thing, but it opens your eyes to more parts of your environment, more things in nature that you wouldn't regularly see before. Like, can you talk about different kinds of pollinators? Of course, you're a wildlife biologist and you know a lot about the bees, but can you speak on some different, maybe lesser known pollinators or a surprise?
Sure. And this is something I'm really passionate about, equally as passionate as beekeeping, is my love for our native pollinators. I'm also a bird watcher, and I also will track down bumblebees and other bees that are in our area. I love to do like wildlife photography, so I do a lot of macro shooting of bees visiting flowers, and it's one of the most beautiful shots I've done. Eagles, condors, all that stuff. To me, the coolest thing is having a bright, beautiful flower and then getting one of our rare endangered bumblebee species come and visit that flower. And to me, that's like finding gold. And there's one specific species that I focus on in our area that is my specialty, and it's the endangered Crotch's bumblebee. It's got a silly name named after George Robert Crotch. He's an entomologist who discovered and named the bee. But they are our endangered species, like I said. They are right now a candidate for the Endangered Species Act. In California, the CDFW has them protected right now, and they are really limited compared to what their historical range used to be. People don't realize these bees are in our backyard, but we're trying to figure out now, as the science is developing and as we are starting to get a better eye of these small creatures in our environment, to be able to say, okay, where are they? How many are they? How many are there? So to me, the fact that these bees go unnoticed every day by people in their gardens, but they need our protection, is just really interesting to me. And I'm trying to get involved with the effort to protect them.
You're talking about the big black bumblebees? Are those the ones you're talking about?
They do look like that. I think if you're talking the big black shiny ones, yeah, those are the carpenter bees.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, those aren't endangered, right? And
No.
Do they make honey?
They don't make honey.
See, that's the question I get all the time. Is the big black bees, do they make honey? No, they don't. They're just pollinators.
Yeah, they're great pollinators.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into some Hollywood gossip. As a beekeeper and a wildlife biologist, Kevin Bock is our guest on Ask the Expert. I'm sure you're one of the many jobs you have in wildlife biology is tending to and caring for other farms, right?
Yeah.
And since we're in Ventura County, there's a bunch of big giant farms. Can you tell us about any of the celebrity farms that you beekeep in?
I'll do the best I can between the ones that are okay with talking about it and the ones I have NDAs with.
That's right, because you probably, I thought about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's some people that are so affluent that I can't talk about them, but there's three that really stand out. Two of them I'm able to talk about, and then one I'll kind of give you hints. So first and foremost, it splits up into two types of work. I'll take care of people's bees and like harvest their honey, or if they need consulting, I come to these people's ranches and I take care of the bees, harvest the honey, etc. But the other is I do hive removals as well. So I've had celebrities call me. One of them in particular was one of the cast members from the first seasons of Sons of Anarchy. He lives out in the San Fernando Valley, and he needed a hive removed from a shed that had gone in. It was an Africanized swarm, and he also runs a dog daycare center and out of his house, or I think he's got a lot of people coming in and out. I call it a daycare center for his dogs. But we went in the backyard and we totally demolished this shed. He's like, just go ahead, get rid of it. And we broke it down, and it was really cool being able to talk to him. He was just on some other big shows as well. So I'm excited about that. But the next one I would say is where I have done consulting for Cal State Channel Islands.
Yeah.
So this was really exciting for me, as I'm a big fan of Fallout, the video games, and the new show that's come out. And one of the locations that I've done hive removals and consulting for Cal State Channel Islands, they keep us, the beekeepers that hang out, and do the actual class, they keep us for consultations on the campus as well. Well, one of the places where we've had those beehives all removed and killed was at what's nicknamed the Scary Dairy. at Cal State Channel Islands.
Okay.
So this was really cool, and I didn't know it. I was reading the news the other day, and I noticed an article pop up, and it's talking about the scary dairy at Cal State Channel Islands and Fallout, that they used it for one of their sets. Now, I knew that there was 4 or 5 beehives in the scary dairy, and we've been keeping students out of there. You know, they go in there, do graffiti, or they hang out, and one of the crazy things was seeing that the fence they took down, they painted it over, and I'm like, in the photo, I'm like, that's Channel Islands. That's the scary dairy.
Awesome.
I'm like, that's really cool that they filmed one of my favorite spots there.
Yeah, but I bet they didn't think about the danger of the bees in the corners of the farm. That's something you don't really expect.
They probably had no idea how many Africanized beehives were in that building before they were shooting.
So you do hive removals then. That sounds like a really tough part of the job, huh?
It can be really challenging. There's a high liability. You know, with homeowners, you want to really make sure you know what you're doing. You know, you've got the safety of the public in mind as well.
Yeah, I saw a baseball game once, not too long ago, where a swarm came in to you remember that? Where it was like, I think it was like an indoor stadium, and then a swarm of bees appeared, and they had to take a game delay, and they called a guy. But when they're swarming, I'm told that I understand that they're not aggressive when they swarm, they're just kind of moving.
Are you talking about the Diamondbacks game? Was that the Padres versus the Diamondbacks?
Yeah.
I remember that game, and I remember seeing that, and there were so many misconceptions and misunderstandings about bees that was going on in that. I had a field day talking to people about it.
You're yelling at your TV, no, that's not right, inaccurate.
So everybody is calling the gentleman who does a very good job at his job, but he worked for a pest control company.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so everybody's saying, oh, he's a hero, he saved these bees, and I'm like, well, I'm watching the screen and he's hosing them down with a foam agent, which, if anybody knows anything about bees, will drown the bees. They breathe through spiracles on their abdomen. So if you hose them down with any type of foamy substance, they're not going to survive that. I was shocked at people believing, oh, he's saving the bees, he's a hero, he saved the bees and rescued the game. And in my head, I'm like, oh, he definitely just killed those bees on live television.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people would have been upset about, but simultaneously, they're not native, and those bees were more than likely had some hybrid Africanized genetics. So although there was a lot of things that the public was misunderstanding, I think it's not a ball of yarn that was going to get unraveled for the entire U.S. population to explain.
Right.
That's a big part of the education that I do in addition to the beekeeping. I try and do a lot of public outreach and education, and man, it can be challenging sometimes.
All right, tell me about the Xerces Society's Bumblebee Atlas project. What is that? Did I say that right? Xerces?
Yeah, you pronounced that correctly.
It starts with an X.
Yeah,
so.
Xerces.
Yeah. Sounds like a Greek god.
I think it is.
Or a constellation.
Yeah, or a character in 300, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Xerces Society of Invertebrate Conservation, I think I got that name right. I worked for them a lot. Don't get mad at me, guys. But they are an amazing nonprofit organization that I've worked with for the last couple years. They are the leading experts in invertebrate conservation. So that's everything from our bumblebees to dragonflies to like freshwater clams and mussels, who like people don't think about but need our protection and are vital to our ecosystems. One thing that I've done, which you mentioned, was the Bumblebee Atlas project. This goes on nationwide, and every springtime and summer, people volunteer with Xerces to go out there, and you actually will be able to do a training which covers you to get a permit, where you can go out and actually catch bumblebees, like with a net, and then you'll actually put them on ice, which puts them into a state of torpor, where they freeze. They'll look dead, but they're just motionless. You then take photographs of them, document it, and submit it to Xerces, and we're creating an atlas of all the bees observed year by year per state. And this is giving us the first foundation of actually tracking in live data all of these bumblebee species. And it's done really important work that's actually impacted regulations set by California Department of Fish and Wildlife and United States Forestry.
Oh, I love how everybody's getting together to like better nature, better the environment in terms of pollinating bees. You know, that's really cool.
Yeah, NGOs are doing a lot more work than people realize these days, especially with a lot of defunding we've had in conservation and environmental work. So it's really up to us to make a difference these days. And you can sign up yourself at Xerces for the Bumblebee Atlas, and you can really make a difference, please. If there's anything I could ask you, it would be do that for the new year.
And I'm going to spell it for them because
Please.
Xerces, Xerces.
Xerces Bumblebee Atlas. Look that up, you'll find it. Or if you just type Bumblebee Atlas, it's right at the top.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you go to certain parts of Southern California to educate people on native bees and pollinators, right? Do you still do that?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do still do that.
Okay.
It's been a busy year for 2025, and it was very dry, so not as many native bees were out as I've seen in past years, but I will go to Parks and Recs departments. I've done this for the city of Glendale before. I'll lead them on bee hikes, or I'll do like Friday night lecture series and do PowerPoint presentations where I'll reach out to the public, tell them about bees or native bees or everything in between. I have a lot of fun doing it, and I usually get pretty good attendance.
Yeah, everybody's really excited about learning new things, especially about bees. I think it's a fear factor kind of thing where it's like, I'm gonna get over my fear of bees and just understand them. And I suggest that. Everybody should do that.
Yeah,
because you learn stuff.
Yeah. One more thing I'd say for like public outreach stuff and education on bees was, did you ever catch that Joe Rogan interview with the beekeeper lady?
Oh yeah, the blonde girl. She never wears a veil when she's like beekeeping.
So that's Erica Thompson. She's the owner of Texas Bee Works in Austin, Texas. And I was sitting at my screen staring at Joe Rogan and her have that conversation. And we were so close to getting to a good public safety announcement because she never wears the veils. And part of her brand is that it's the very much feel good, like natural, like new age whispering to the bees, and it's very peaceful. Well, and to me, I'm like, that would have been a perfect moment for her to be able to give the public some insight and educate them on, it's like, yes, they are absolutely amazing creatures, but the risks that is undertaken, unfortunately, she didn't bring up, and she doesn't show it to her viewers.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous. It's like being a cliff diver and, well, I don't know. It's like being like a bungee jumper without a rope.
Or like NASCAR driver without a helmet on, when you hit the racetrack for a public race.
Yeah, it's doesn't look safe. No. Okay, well, we're in Ventura County, though, and like for the most part, we have pretty nice bees. There are some Africanized hives that people get. I mean, most of the time we're worried about, hive removals. We got bees in our what's those called? Those things in your houses where they get in.
Oh, like the eaves?
The eaves get bees, they get in your walls. So what happens when somebody gets approached by a bee or a colony? What happens if a beehive moves into someone's backyard? What steps should one take?
If you're unfortunate enough to have a beehive go into your backyard, there's two things that are more than likely going to happen. One, which is the better outcome, is that it's just a swarm. They're coming through your neighborhood and they've stopped on your property, and usually they'll hang in a branch or under something like a big clump, and you'll see all the bees. And that might be extremely alarming for you, or any homeowner to see that. But if you give it a day, a couple hours, maybe 3-4 days tops, those bees will move on and they'll disappear. You don't need to do anything. Just give them some space. The other one is if you see a trail, like a flight path of bees coming out from your roof, that's no bueno. That's where you need to call a beekeeper like myself or another pest control service, depending on what your situation is, and you're going to need to have them removed. It is cheaper to have a pest control person come and kill them, which if they're Africanized, all honeybees, they're not native to North America or South America. They've been introduced. I understand if you need to kill them, if they're a safety risk, if children or pets or people are getting stung, that's fine. But of course, we want to be able to give them a new life and maybe a new place to live. And that's when you call a specialist beekeeper. They will open up the wall, they will actually cut out the comb, and we will bring all the bees, catch the queen too, and up to like my ranch. So when I do removals, I'll catch the queen, I'll cut out all the wax like I said, and give them a new home.
Bee. It's like recycling a bee. That's great. We're talking with Kevin Bock, a 6th-year beekeeper and career wildlife biologist today on Ask the Expert. And if you have a question for today's expert, you can call or text 833-346-4626. Once again, 833-346-4626. Or you can cut the middleman out and just talk to Kevin himself. What's your email address?
It's conejobeeco@gmail.com. That's CONEJOBEECO.com.
That's right on Ask the Expert today. So Kevin, you're going to be around every season, I think. We'll check in with you, hopefully,
cool,
as the seasons progress. Right now we are in, I think, winter. Mm-hmm. Now the days are getting longer because we're on the other side of winter. What is do you have any advice for the novice wildlife aficionado or somebody who's interested in knowing what the plants are around them?
I think I know what you mean. And there's people who want to know what's in their world outside of them. Like, say we're all going to like Tuna Canyon or somewhere else, going up to one of the wilderness parks, Malibu State Creek. And you're like, wow, that's a beautiful flower. That's a beautiful animal. What is that? Well, there's a couple apps out there that I strongly recommend people use. One of them is iNaturalist, which is not only will it help you, you can take a photo and it'll AI identify that animal for you or that plant and tell you immediately what it is. But in addition, any photos you do post, if it can't identify, you can share them, and it's basically a community where other people and experts will be able to tell you what they think it is. Not only that, but every sighting you find gets entered into one of the largest citizen science databases ever known in history. And this data is being used and shared publicly with other scientists, conservationists, and biologists, where they're able to actually take this data and use it to help further study and research on different wildlife. It's been helping us with endangered species conservation for the last couple years. It's absolutely remarkable.
That's really awesome. What was that app again?
iNaturalist.
iNaturalist. Okay, well, we're about to wrap up here. Thanks for being my expert today. Thanks for being our expert today, Kevin, on Ask the Expert. Can you talk about some of the events or promotions happening in the near future? I know you're talking about the Hansen Agricultural Research Center and stuff going on there. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. So me and several colleagues that are in the area through the UC Extension System and Cal State Channel Island have been working for years now to try and get a local beekeeping program going. Not just through Cal State Channel Islands, but available to everybody at the public. So if you've been interested in beekeeping and you want to do a 101 course, you can learn about it. Or if you want to become a master beekeeper, our hope is to be able to get those organized and offered to the public in the next year or so. Our first intro classes are starting in the spring of 2026. So keep an eye out for those. If you follow me on my social media, which is the Conejo Bee on Instagram, you'll be able to get more updates on that, and I'll tell you when we're going to announce those classes. That, or email me at the email address I provided to you guys earlier.
ConejoBeeco@gmail.com.
That's correct.
Well, Kevin, this has been fun. I think I'm going to put on my, what's this called, bee suit.
Your bee suit.
And fly on off into the wilderness. You always got to stay prepared, stay
That's
protected
right.
from, nature. But where are you going to be in the next few weeks? What's your forecast looking like as our local neighborhood bee guy?
Well, the bees right now, Since it's been our rainy season, they're kind of just hunkering down. I'm making sure that whenever it starts to warm up a bit and it's not raining, I'll check them, make sure they need anything, whether it's food, like nectar, pollen, I'll make sure that they get some. Besides that, I'm heading up on Sunday to go to Mendocino County, Fort Bragg. I'm going to be working with PG&E and monitoring them on their tree trimming projects along the power lines. So making sure we're stopping fires this coming year by protecting power lines and neighborhoods. And my job is to protect the trees and the wildlife around the power lines.
See, he's got the real job. I'm just pretending. But I'm going to continue to pretend. And thanks for being on Ask the Expert, Kevin. This has been fun.
You got it.
All right. Onward and upward. Don't get stung, everybody. That's the advice.